This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're sitting here on quarantine, just admiring the sun. It's climbed up high in the sky, and there's a small herd of zebra. Dazzle me, matey. It's already getting warm. I think we're in for a great day ahead. So buckle up, everyone. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here on my vehicle and other vehicles across South Africa this morning. It's such a beautiful morning. The birds are already singing, and of course, what can be better when you have zebra on quarantine? You just leave camp, and here they are. They're black and white contrasting with one another and the warmth of the sunrise. My name is Lauren, and I do have Simon on camera today, and we have lots of plans. I'm not actually sure where to begin. There's lots of things on my agenda today. I want to first stop off at the Hyena Den. It's always a good place to check, see what's happening, see who's around, have they stolen any kills, and then we may head in search of some spots. And there's also a few birding things I want to achieve today. There's lots of interesting birding things happening around here. So I want to see if I can put some of them on camera. So that's the plan. But as you know, out in the wild, it doesn't always go to plan. However, we're live. Nothing is edited. So please do talk to us. Use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Or you can use @FC on YouTube. That stands for Final Control. Or you can email us if you're under 18. So kids, please do send in your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And there's another option. You're also welcome to register on the Wild Earth website. You just head over to the live safari page and submit your questions there. So it's entirely up to you how you want to talk to us. Comments and questions, please. It's apparently 21 degrees Celsius, 69 degrees Fahrenheit. But that sun is burning through, the skies are blue. I can already feel the warmth, which means it's probably going to become very uncomfortably hot very quickly. I don't actually know how many zebra are here. I am now blinded by that ball of gas in the sky, but it's a small herd. And even from a distance, from far away, you can immediately see that shadow stripe. In between the black and white stripes, you see that shadow stripe, and that tells you straight away what species you're looking at. You're looking at the plain zebra. You don't even have to zoom in to be able to see that. But as to whether they're male or female, that's a little bit more tricky. Especially from afar like this. But apparently there was lions that were on the dam cam last night, so they may be very close by on Djuma, and I guess these zebra better watch out. So we're going to bumble off to the Hyena Den, and we're going to send you across to another location to say good morning.
Very good morning, and welcome to And Beyond Punda. We have got a beautiful sunrise this morning for you. And as we look into the east, into the distance, we are looking towards the ocean. So we're about 20 k's away from the sea there. And one of the few places with a Big Five reserve so close to the ocean. What an absolute pleasure. My name's Devon. Behind the camera we've got Odie. And our plan for this morning is to go find and see if we can find some leopard. There's a small little herd of impala that we've got here. It's a little bachelor herd of males that were unsuccessful in breeding this year. So the impala herds are well through the process of breeding. Most of the females have had their lambs already, and these males are the ones that got left behind. If you have a look at the size of their horns, there's one or two that are relatively decent sized horns, but the others are quite small, but by no means kind of exceptional horn sizes. So they're probably still quite young males, and not quite big and strong enough yet to challenge the really large males that will successfully breed. But an absolutely beautiful scene. We're going to head off into the area where we were going to look for our leopard, and we thought we just had to stop here and have a look at these impala. And just the beautiful backlight, lights catching their fur around the edges and illuminating them. It's absolutely magnificent. So these guys, for now, are just browsing or grazing slowly. So they're eating grass. There's one on the left having a nibble on a little shrub, which is not uncommon for impala to do. People like to try and draw a very clear line and say these animals eat grass and these animals eat leaves, but in reality it's quite different. They will often eat grass and leaves, and really not uncommon to find an impala picking on a bush. These guys obviously didn't read the textbook that said they're supposed to eat grass only. Got a little bit confused. But yeah, you can see 6 little impala here. We've got a number of different birds calling in the background. I can hear some crickets off in the distance. A black-crowned chagra sitting in the bush behind them. And a really peaceful scene that's unfolding here. I think 4 of the 6 impala are now picking at bushes. Just in case you didn't believe me when I say they browse as well as graze. I thought it was just one that was a little bit confused. It's the whole herd. Yeah, that one's horning that bush as well at the back there. So maybe using those branches to get a good scratch in. Impala, and then yet 2 are lining up like they might have a little bit of a horn lock. No. When we got here, there were 2 of them were having a little bit of a tussle, but it was just a little play fight. The rutting season is all but finished now, and any kind of fighting, especially between youngsters, that happens is going to happen because it's just fun and games, practicing getting stronger for next year when the rut will start again and the males will need to re-establish their dominance. But for now they're all mates, and these males have got no reason to be in a herd with females and lambs. If you have a look at their coat as well, you can see really beautifully kept. And the reason that they're so beautifully kept, every now and again you'll watch one of the impala kind of grooming itself. So we saw that one scratching its horns on the bush. There's one in the middle that's just grooming itself with its mouth. And impalas are actually really clean animals, so they take a lot of time to groom themselves. They sometimes groom each other. and their teeth have got a little bit of flex in it, so they're not locked into the jaw, so they can move in and out and make like a comb. Imagine teeth being able to, the gaps between them being able to open and close. You could imagine it's a very good tool to use to scrape ticks and that type of thing out of their coats, and as a result they've got these beautiful, beautiful coats. Ron, you were asking about the biggest herd of impala I've ever seen. I must be honest, I probably haven't counted. If I see a big herd of impala, it'll take quite a while to count. But I'd imagine probably between a ballpark figure, 80 and 100 here at Punda. I don't think I've seen herds, although there's some plains in the west of the reserve or southwest, and some big open grassland plains there, and I have seen a herd of probably 100 males this year. It was a massive bachelor herd of males, and they actually, when they were still closer to the rut, you could be sitting with them and they'd all start chasing each other around and making that very distinct call that they do when they rut, and it was quite a scene to watch unfolding. It was it was a lot of energy, and from that position the herds of female weren't with them. That bachelor herd of males, the dominant male there was keeping them away, but there was another herd of probably close to the same number of females. So I suppose 250 impala in a scene, in one shot. But I think in the other places like the Kruger National Park, the herds of impala do get a lot bigger than what we have here. These impala are starting to wander behind this bush a little bit. I'll sit with them until they disappear completely. And the sun is actually wandering behind quite a big bank of clouds. So the first, 10 degrees of the horizon, there's an opening, so there's no clouds. But then the next 15 degrees have got this big, actually quite ominous looking bank of cloud that looks like it's moving slowly, kind of in a southerly direction, so hopefully it's not going to hit us. But even if it does, I think it'll just make it or keep it cooler for a little bit longer. It doesn't look like there's any rain falling down there. It's impala, the back's having a little head scratch now. Grooming. But yeah, what an absolutely stunning way to start the day. Cup of coffee, impala, sunrise. Doesn't get much better than that. What we are going to do now is we are going to carry on with our search for the leopard. We've got a pretty good idea of where it was seen last night, so we're going to head into that area quickly and do a quick little follow-up. Hopefully find some tracks, or maybe even find her in the same place as she was left. And we are going to send you across to Andrew at Ngala now, who has got a hippo in a watering hole. And we'll be back with you shortly.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve here in Servicent. We're looking at the beautiful hippo that's actually doesn't want to play too much for us. My name's Andrew. On cam this morning I have Darby. Such incredible. Well, it's about the same with impalas actually enjoying the sunrise. We're here at Kalahari Dam. We had also a lone hippo, it looks like, at the moment, where he's busy actually going in and out of this water hole. There he is. He's probably enjoying the sunrise since they returned from the water, from the land. Well, they spend a lot of time out in land grazing grasses until early morning, like 3, 4 o'clock, return to the water. This is how they're going to be doing the whole entire day, I think. Temperature of today, 21 degrees Celsius, 69 Fahrenheit, where it's open sky for sure. It's going to be probably get more warmer during the course of the day. Remember, we're also coming live from this location, so we're happy to take your comment and questions, which is a way to send them is to register on the Wild Earth website. Head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions and comment, and they will be answering them from here live this morning. There is probably stand, as you can see, the whole body up, a little bit of it. And he's down again. So yeah, my plan for this morning, I'm going to be searching around for the bridle lines. Then we believe they were around here last night. We're going to take time, follow them. In the meantime, I will be sending you across to Lauren with her little cookie surprise for everyone.
It's not just us that feel sleepy in the morning. It also takes the insects a little bit of time to waken up. I think we have a bark spider here. And a beautiful web, look at that. I always feel guilty if I drive into a web by accident because so much work has gone into creating this web. So much energy. Imagine just hanging upside down, suspended in mid-air from silk. The silk is produced from the spider, from amino acids, which build up protein, the building blocks of life, really. Said to be 5 times stronger than steel, and twice as strong as Kevlar, if the same weight, of course. And normally webs can stretch about 30% longer than the original without breaking. So they're very flexible. This one's having breakfast. The spider's caught something, or the web caught something, and the spider is eating it. So the webs are very resilient and they can catch birds. They can also vary the thickness and the stickiness of the web because they're actually producing different types of silk. It's not the same across the board for one individual spider of one species. They can use up to 7 different types of silk, which will be created from different amino acids. And they can be used in many different ecological ways. The silk comes from spinnerets, which normally come in pairs. With different specialized glands. And these glands are visible, actually. If you were to sort of turn a spider over, look at its abdomen, maybe for a small spider you might need a magnifying glass or a microscope, but you can see the spinnerets. But who is behind the spinnerets? That is my question. We are at the den. There we go. I don't know if this is corks. There's one cup. It's actually very difficult to see who this is right now. It doesn't look like Corky's daughter. Is it you, Rebs? I can't see the spot pattern or the ears. So hashtag Wild Earth, help me. Who do we have here? Dolly, you're asking, by being in the centre, does it hold the web together? Not necessarily. But it depends on the web design. So different species of spiders will create different webs. And if you think of a golden orb web spider, theirs are golden. They create theirs as more of a sort of net spanning from the vegetation. This is more of your stereotypical web, if you like. When you think, if someone said, think of a spider web, the one that we have in front of us right now is exactly what you would think of. Now, the orb web spiders, they actually have something called a stabilimentum. And it's quite obvious on the web when you see it. It's a sort of white zigzag pattern. And its function is still greatly debated in science. And it's normally in the centre of the web, so you can pinpoint the centre due to the stabilimentum. But the web we're looking at right now doesn't have a stabilimentum. And it's just the structure of the web. Because it is circular, it makes sense for the spider to be in the middle. That's the sort of resting position. But this spider was eating something. I don't know if it's just travelled to the place where the insect got trapped. And that's the whole point of a web, to trap your food. And then once the food dies or runs out of energy, you then, of course, can just travel along the web that you created and eat it. And for the stabilimentum, which we don't have here, it was originally thought to stabilize the web, and that's why it's called a stabilimentum. But that hypothesis has sort of been dismissed because it's only loosely attached to the web when you actually analyse it. So its influence on stability must be extremely minor, to be very honest. And it was also noted that spiders with stabilimentum were generally diurnal. So it was sort of suggested that that little stabilimentum, the white zigzag, which I'll try and show you a photo of later, it possibly could provide protection to the spider by camouflaging it or breaking up its outline, because that's normally where the spider sits, on top of the stabilimentum. There's also another theory that because it's so obvious, you can see it. I mean, look now, can you see the web? It's very difficult. You can't see it. And therefore the stabilimentum would make the web extremely obvious. So does this prevent larger animals, maybe herbivores or even birds, from flying into it and damaging it? Very possible. Nocturnal, you're saying hyena and spider going about their day together. Isn't it lovely? Simon's creativity gave us a good look at that web. But who are we looking at here? There are, I think, 3 or 4 other hyenas. We've got another mother, and I think we have Tswazi and Ndebele, but they're behind the thicket, so we're going to have to completely reposition to give you a shot of them. But the den's busy in terms of bodies, but activity, everyone is very sleepy. Chris Rogue, you're saying is Corky. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. I thought it was corks. But you know, when a hyena's flat like this and sleepy, it's very difficult to tell. So we've got corks. I think we've got heart, but I will need to go around and check. And I do think we have both Ndebele and Tswazi, which is lovely. Brother and sister. And everybody's curled up very closely together, sleeping soundly. Okay. When we get the chance to reposition, we will, so we can give you a view of whoever else is at the den. But for now, over to Andrew.
Thank you very much, Lauren. We're still here at the dam. We haven't moved yet. What we just seen here, it's forminist frogs busy forming a nest or form itself, which the female does produce all of her form, and the males were able to use its legs, display them. This is how he actually fertilizes eggs. And just, it's amazing. It's always so important for, these type of frogs, forminist frogs specifically, when they place their nest or this form, it's got to be in a point of water below it. She's still there. So the reason for that is once these eggs hatch, tadpoles, they will be able to emerge straight into the water. And that's how they will survive then. Usually this process takes all night or half night sometimes, depending what time do they start. If it's cooler and we're still early morning, they're still able to do that. Penny, so you're asking how long do these tadpoles take to create its legs? So it's anything from 15, 18 days. And then we're able to, because when they emerge from the eggs itself, drop into the water, they have a kind of a tail, a little bit, like type of fish image. But then they will, as they grow up, gain energy or growth take places, then they're all able to cut off itself that little tail that's sticking out, so there's no more tail or anything. So then from there they'll start to grow a fourth leg first and a hind leg later on. Megan, you're saying frogs are amazing little creatures. Indeed, they are. And the way they do, they have actually great life out here. Even though they're active during the wet season for us, it's where you will see a lot of frogs. Tons of frogs. With this one, once they're an adult, you find them mainly outside of the water in the branches. And they've been seen near the houses humans building. But this is all about now reproduction that's taking places. That's why they're around this lake. And they actually have important work to do in an ecosystem where in this area it's a lot of insect that flies around, these termites, and they will deal with the mosquitoes most. So they actually do great in this world. And a lot of time the foam goes to waste if it's a lack of shortage of rain. You found dried out all the hash, and then when it fell down, they found underneath is no water, and they will probably dry out immediately, die as a young one. So while she's still there, probably the male will return because she can't be alone doing this. The male has to go on top of her and fertilize the eggs. That is his job. Wherever he is right now, which is probably around here. Sometimes more than one male. I think I see movement of a few of them here. There it is. Oh, something frightened them. I don't know what frightened them there. So they're gone. Just gonna carry on, look for something else.
Being at the Den is just so precious. It's just a termite mound with an entrance and an exit hole. But just watching all of these animals who are all so fiercely independent be here together is really precious. Now, Chris Rogue, I totally understand you said Corky, but I'm not sure. I feel like it could be Ribbon. I understand there's only one cub. But I feel like we may be looking at Ribbon here. I could be wrong. It's really difficult to tell. We're at a terrible angle. I just don't recognize this hyena as Corky, but let's see when she puts her head up. It may be Corky. That's if she ever puts her head up, actually. And we can't give you a view of the others just yet. There's a vehicle behind us, but as soon as we can move, we're going to go around and you see all the other hyenas that are... Michael, you also think it's Ribbon. Okay. I'm not sure. I feel it's Ribbon. But it's very difficult to tell. And of course, Ribbon and Corky's ear that you need to see is the left one. And that's the one that she's got down on the ground. But I do think it's... Oh, there you go. It's Ribbon. Hello, Ribs. Oh. There we go. It's Ribbon, but only one cub. Definitely can't tell if it's Shimbulu or Ngwazi right now. But we're going to sit here and hopefully we'll be able to find out very shortly.
With her. It's breaking routine. No, she, it's actually only quite recently, so she's always used, well, let me rephrase that, she's been in.
You're back with us. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened with Pinda, but they'll be back with us really shortly, I'm sure. Broadcasting out here in the wild is not easy. Ah, there we go, we can see one. I think this is Ndebele. But once again, it's not very easy looking at a hyena from this angle. And I can see Tswazi. I don't think Simon will be able to, but I can really definitely see it's Tswazi, and I can see that ET. You can't miss it. It's on his right hip. And it's just spots, but it's almost like they've merged together to spell ET. Bye, guys. Okay, that vehicle is moving, which means we can move and we can get you a better view of who the other hyenas are. But where Ribbon is sitting, she always sits there. That is Ribbon's little dent in the mud. And she urinates there a lot, which is lovely, but that is her spot. You will always find Ribbon at the den here in that spot. She must find it very, very comfortable, or it just must be, I don't know if it's the throne or whatnot, but Ribbon loves to lie. There is a little sort of concave bit in the sediment, and that's where she loves to park herself. Okay, Simon, let's reverse back and see who else we have here. The den's becoming a bit tricky to navigate due to the vegetation. Okay. We have another mother, Tswazi. Tswazi just likes to be with the females, doesn't he? Okay, Simon, can you work with this? Perfect. Now, Swazi's the furthest away one that's put his head up. Hello. You're not causing trouble today, are you? Are you too sleepy to cause trouble? It looks like it. Can't even keep his eyes open. And then I'm guessing we possibly have Heart. I imagine this is Heart. You can see how close Tswazi likes to be to them all. Always. He's not scared to get close to the females. I think this is Heart. I imagine there's two cubs there, although we can only see the head of one. And then Ndebele. It's really not the males that the females have to sort of assert their dominance over. And Tswazi is a bit of a goofball, if I'm allowed to use that term. He's still young, and he is at the age where he could technically disperse, but that doesn't mean he will. And the males are the males, really. He's a NATO clan member, and therefore none of the females will most likely think about mating with him anyway. But for Ndebele, that's a different scenario. Yes, his Heart. Ndebele's just this one here, Simon. She's a female, so she has to fit into the sort of female hierarchy. Her mother was high ranked, so she was always in a pretty good position, but she's young. She's obviously the same age as Tswazi. They're from the same litter. And although they come from a high-ranked mother with that silver spoon in their mouth, it's still a female-dominated society, and she has to sort of learn to understand her place. I mean, she's only just over 2 years old now, coming up for 2.5, and the other females will act quite dominant to her. And it's not that they're trying to hurt her, it's she needs to understand her position in the hierarchy. Everybody has their place. Every female knows who they are submissive to and who is dominant. You have to understand that. They will behave differently to different females. Everyone will be submissive to Ribbon. But Corky and June, for example, they have to understand who is dominant over the other and who they act submissively to. And that's why they treat Ndebele that way, but not Swazi. I mean, the females get a little bit grumpy with Swazi sometimes, but otherwise, he is totally accepted. And if you look, Swazi's sitting very close to Heart. They're almost touching. They probably are touching here. I think he's got his paw on her head. But Ndebele is just a little bit further away. She's about 2 meters away from Heart. Shay, 100% remarkable hearing. They have remarkable senses all round. They do have sharp eyesight, but it's their keen sense of smell, their olfactory capabilities, and their hearing that they rely on. Their ears are disproportionately large. They're very cute, hyena ears, but they're large. And not as large as wild dogs, relative to the sort of body size, but they're still large. And again, that's to sort of channel all the sounds into the ear. They can move them around a little bit as well to determine direction. And this is so that they can communicate over large distances. They can sort of find out where one another are, communicate, signal. So they have fantastic hearing and fantastic sense of smell. I mean, they can follow trails that are over 3 days old and still find what they're looking for. They have around 14 different calls. They can all communicate with one another. In any social structure, in any social dynamic where you have multiple animals, be it a pack, a pride, a clan, there must be some form of communication. Otherwise, the social dynamic wouldn't stick together. And therefore, hyenas will call to one another from great distances and respond. I mean, they travel about, well, up to 70 kilometers at nighttime to find food if needed. And they'll be able to communicate to one another. If they couldn't communicate that way, they wouldn't be able to hold on to the social structure that they have. And just like elephants, they're also social. They have a herd. They have their own private communication channel in the form of infrasounds because they have to. How else can they remain together? How else can they stick as a herd if they can't communicate? Whereas leopards are solitary. They don't need to have the same form of communication as animals within a sort of strict social structure. So I think Simon and I may sit here just a little bit longer, but we are going to send you guys across to Yapi to say good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to all our viewers to And Beyond Ngala, where this morning we are looking at some impala feeding on the banks quite close to the Timavati riverbed. Now we've just had lions calling in this area. It sounded like an entire pride calling. And that is what we're currently looking for. I'm Yapi, and behind the camera we've got BK. And we're going to try stay in this area for a few more minutes, see if we might get lucky, maybe hear those lions again. If not, we're going to continue to different clearings. This is also the area where the wild dogs were last seen yesterday. So we're hoping for a lot of luck this morning, I guess. But if you have a look, you can see these impalas are quite busy with feeding at the moment. After the rains, the next day, usually the first day with the sun out, I've often seen that these animals start to move out into the clearings. where they'll be quite active and feeding, and also in general trying to dry out from the 2 wet days we've had. And because of those lions calling earlier, these impalas are quite nervous, and you can see, look at that one, she's paying close attention to what the others are doing. And if you notice, the one off to the right hiding in the shade is also looking that way. Look at those ears flicking. Any noise, birds calling, anything coming from the side spooks them. The moment one starts moving, the rest will follow. And it's a really dense area that they're in, actually. This particular area is low-laying. There's lots of open spaces here with very good grass, and that's why we see large herds of impalas here. But they're quite well hidden in and amongst the denser vegetation closer to the riverbed. So the reward for them moving around here is quite high, but it also comes at a high risk, especially with the babies at the moment. There's lots of babies around. They form these little groups, which we were seeing just now. But I think in not too long, it'll be quite hot today, and then these impalas might move into the shade. And you can see she's still looking over in the direction where the other one headed to, and she's probably still wondering what they're doing. Miley, the females usually, they have common interest. There tends to be a lot more females than males that's territorial. So because of that, they are not territorial. They use what we refer to as a home range. And therefore, out of general interest, the areas with good food attracts a lot of them. Especially this time of the year, there's also a lot of babies. And with all of those babies together, the more impalas there are, the more eyes there are. That means they can move into areas and use areas that an impala on her own wouldn't necessarily risk to go in to feed. And you can see, look at the skin twitching of that impala. And that's because there's already quite a lot of flies. Now this area, there's a lot of marsh sections around here where there's little seasonal pans that's formed, and it's very, very muddy around here. So there's a lot of flying insects that's breeding in and around this area at the moment. And that's why we see the coat shaking like that and shimmering in the sunlight. It's interesting to watch them feed. You can see how quickly those lips move, just nibbling off certain parts that they need. And then the slight twitch of the head is a little bit of a tug to loosen or taking that last bite of whatever they're feeding on. In this case, it looked like the one in front's feeding off very tall grasses, and the one at the back's feeding off one of the trees. A slight pause to have a look around every now and again, or listen out. And that's what makes these animals so successful and versatile. It's the fact that they can feed of both grass, which they tend to eat a little bit more of at this time of the year. And generally they're staring into the area that they have the best view of at this point. Or maybe it is the area where they knew that they knew where the lions were calling from. And I think we're going to leave these impala continue to have a look for those lions and send you over to Andrew with a monitor lizard.
So we're still here sitting at this very beautiful watering hole. You know, it's quite a few activity here where, you know, while we're watching the frogs doing their nesting, now these guys, they were water monitor lizard. They all just came and trying to hunt them, which you all heard kind of like a distress from the frog, but probably one of them's been killed down there. And then that lizard actually came in, but there's no visual, only that one that is up there. That's now got a visual of it. Basking. But this frog is still having some of them given up. Because there's quite a tons of difference of them here. But the same species are still tree frogs, or 4-minute frogs. So what we're seeing back there is a challenge as a frogs they have, where they're trying to reproduce. And at the same time, they actually prey for other beakers, meat eaters. There's actually big reptiles that is around here, not a crocodile, but still a lot of these lizards. But that's how the life goes. You will live, support your own life, but then somebody's looking at you as a meal at the same time, so you food. That's how the food chain goes. A little bit of a claw showing off there of these water monitor lizards. See how they're sharpening these nails. Yeah, it's coming out. So these claws help them to climb trees, any type of trees. And they spend a lot of time in the water, this one. Probably gonna follow around where the sun shining through for basking warm up, probably. Leanne, so you're asking if this frog will remain near until the tadpoles drop. So not physically in the nest. Once there is a nest, they're done fertilizing it, they would probably go somewhere else. Probably go lay some eggs somewhere else or take it easy and they've done their job. For the meantime, that nest, it needs time also to gain some kind of a dryness. So it actually takes time for the nest to dry off. Once it's made, it's still soft, which that form is quite soft for any others, such as a bird can stick their beak inside. But once it's like a day old, so itself, it forms a little bit of kind of like silky object, which is already covered the whole nest, but it's still white. It's so that the out layer, it's rough, not easy anymore for anything else to penetrate. And they don't need to watch on that anymore until the tadpoles drop into the water. Anna Marie, so you're saying, he hoped this form sticks. Yeah, eventually it does, and it formed kind of like a slightly harder enough to protect the whole eggs inside during the eggs being inside there. So, for example, if you would have put the liquid, washing dish liquid, and disturb the water, and the minute you see the foam coming out, so every time you can get rid of this foam by your hand, where now when they make this foam, pretty much that object like that, but in a few hours later, it changed to be very harder, so it's not easy anymore to be disturbed, but needs sun and the temperatures to be able to dry it off and produce some silky stuff. That's how it actually helps the form itself to hold in these branches not to fall off. I'm not sure whether it's going to hunt around yet. It's now on move. You can see its tongue sticking out. Where that is actually a hunting method, just like a snake. They stick the tongues out, kind of a sense taking place. But under that, it's also always in a form. But I don't think that the lizard will go for a form itself, because there's nothing in there. So it's just only the form would only go for the frog itself, unless if there's something available. Then of course that nest can be disturbed by the lizard. Fiona, you're asking if the monitor lizard can swim. This species, yes, they can. So usually when they do that, it's amazing. They don't use their, just like a crocodile, so they use their tail to be able to move the whole body forward. That means they cannot actually go backwards. They only turn. So yes, indeed, they can swim and they can submerge. They can spend a lot of time under the water as well. Alright, so we're gonna move on. I'm gonna be sending you across to Yapi with his Stalk.
Look at that, a beautiful male saddlebill stork. What a unique looking bird indeed. And he's been very busy. Like that, have a look at that. He's just caught something. How exciting is that? Now it looks like he is having a little trouble having to look for movement within this tall grass. And it's really, really tall grass because this is a very tall bird and it's almost completely disappeared if it wasn't for that long neck. But the area that it's walking is one of the seasonal pans that form within this area. And it's a small depression in the muddy soil and that eventually gathers so much water and gets enlarged by larger animals using that water. And over a long period of time, it forms a almost marsh-like habitat, which in turn attracts a lot of frogs, which I think is mostly what this bird is going after at the moment. It's really amazing. That bill is so big and heavy, and you can actually, from where I'm sitting, I can actually hear it snapping as it's, every time it catches one of the frogs or whatever else it can find hiding in the long grass. I'm sure as it's busy moving through the grasses with its feet and big toes, it's probably spooking things around, and as they move, it grabs it. A lilac, that's a good question. I do not know if it's the tallest of the stork species. I know it is quite tall, but I do think that the white stork might be a little bit taller than this one. But I'm really not sure about the actual length comparatively. Would be interesting to find out though. I'll have a look, do some research and get back at a later stage. You can see how well its length serves it at this point. And the red and black markings on the legs. As it carefully wades through that very, very long grass. And of course a really, really muddy ground layer below all this grass. So it's a really large animal will pretty much sink into this mud wallow, something like a buffalo or rhino. which I haven't seen many signs of in this area, oddly enough. And after the rains the last 2 days, it's gathered substantial water, and I think in an area like this we'll probably keep this water for quite a while. The soils here are quite high in clay content, and they stop the water from seeping in. Now, something that's also quite odd is I have noticed some small fish in some of these seasonal pans nearby. And I know that this bird is mainly a fish eater, but frogs also form quite a big part of its diet. So while we watch this stalk further, we'll send you over to Lauren with her hyenas.
Incredible moments here at the Hyena Den. Tswalu's up, he didn't stay sleepy for long, and what he's trying to do is rouse Heart's pair. And they just want to kiss Mama. They just want to give Mama lots of love today. Look at that face. Oh, is that good? And Tswalu wants to play. Tswalu wants to annoy them, and they want to get all the attention from Mom. Ribbon left, so we got to see her walking. She's still limping, but it's a lot better. That's Heart saying, "Go away, Tswalu." Wasn't very aggressive, but she's saying, "Go away." What do you have on your nose? Shelley was born in September 2018. So him and Ndebele, as I mentioned, are coming up for 2.5 years. But he's just a big goofball, if I'm allowed to say that. I've never quite seen a hyena like Tswalu before. He's such a character. It was very sad when he lost his mother, Pretty, and we witnessed her decline at the end. She was such a fantastic hyena with a great name. I mean, Pretty. Who wouldn't want to be called Pretty? And him and Ndebele have survived, and they're obviously a twin litter. I find them remarkably similar. You get some hyenas from twin litters that don't look alike, but I find Ndebele and Tswalu very similar. We saw them hunting together not so long ago, and they've survived and thrived. It's a wonderful story, and it's probably been the clan dynamics that helped them survive. They just want to be around other hyenas. Oh, look at this tender moment here between Heart and her little ones. Heart's fiercely protective over her babies. She loves her babies, as most mothers do. Atu, you're saying Heart is looking in prime condition. Absolutely. She's looking great. She's looking better than Ribbon right now. That doesn't mean anything at this stage. We watched them interact, and it was nothing but tenderness and respect. But she's huge. She's mammoth. She's regularly full. Her coat looks good. Heart is thriving. Tswalu. Tswalu hasn't learned that thing called personal space. He's not quite sure what it means and how to go about it. But he's still a youngster. And males can disperse it too, but he comes from a high-ranked mother. And I really do believe in the Djuma clan. It's small, he's in a good position. He's young, they all tolerate him, they all accept him. He gets fed well, he loves playing with the cubs. He's possibly just not ready to disperse yet. 2 is a sort of average age. But if he does disperse and join another clan, he'll become an immigrant male, and he'll have a lot of work ahead of him. It's not going to be easy. The females don't automatically trust. They accept new males because biologically they need new males, the gene pool. But they won't make it easy for them. They'll be at the sort of very bottom of the pool of males. When it comes to females' mating choice, they choose tenure, length of time with the clan, males that they know they can trust. They choose males of a similar age. They choose males that are very submissive. They do not want a dominant male. That's why one time we watched Saka being very submissive to Ribbon, bowing down, bowing down, bowing down. He's trying to impress her by saying, I am so submissive to you. You are my queen. And they also prefer immigrant males, of course. It's not going to benefit the females to mate with natal males all the time. And those are the four sort of key factors that females go for when making a mating choice. But they are promiscuous. They will mate with different males. Such a sweet moment. She's hitting that tickle spot. Olivia could be anywhere after 3, really. Females can become sexually mature, but it's normally on average around 4 years old. But I guess biologically it's possible after 3. But it also depends on your position in the hierarchy, because your position in the hierarchy is going to directly relate to your condition. Generally speaking, the higher rankers have better access to food, they're larger, they're stronger, and the lower rankers not so much. It's a different lifestyle depending on where you are in the hierarchy. So I think it might be a while before Nzabeli will have her first litter. But biologically, after 3, she can be classified as sexually mature. It's all very tender here. I think we may leave shortly, as there's another type of spots I would like to find for you today.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So the stork is still busy having a lot of luck with some frogs in this area. But I think from what I've noticed, it seems like now it's quieted down a little bit. When he started out, almost every time it brought up its head, it had something in its beak. But now it's becoming slightly less and less. And I think that might be because of his movement around here. The frogs and the other little creatures probably noticed it and decided to hide away. It's also getting quite hot at the moment. You can see it's amazing, like careful long strides. And he's been moving up and down that island and then moving back into that corner each time. And the corner that he came from, there's a little bit of shade from a tree that's growing there, and I think there's quite a few creatures hiding away there, as opposed to right out in the sun. Now, we had a question from one of our viewers just now. I tend to agree with a lot of our viewers. I was just about to say that we had a question from one of our viewers about which is the largest stork, and it looks like the marabou stork is slightly larger than the saddlebolt stork, and more or less the same weight. Still, 2 centimeters doesn't seem to be a massive difference. They both actually have quite a wide variety in their diet. Marabou storks, we know, we sometimes see around carcasses, around areas where there's a lot of rubbish on occasions. So they are strange creatures, and they pretty much eat anything they can get. And it's almost the same with this bird here. Now, I've read before that they will even go to areas or large bodies of water with a lot of red-billed quilius around, where they'll look for their little ones that fall out of the nests into the water. Now, normally at Ngala we see the saddlebill storks only in pairs. We don't see large flocks of them, and often you'll see a group of 1, 2, and then maybe their offspring. But in this case, I haven't seen any other saddlebill stork around this area actually in a while. Oh, there we go. It looked like a frog. I couldn't see it. It was too quick. Dana, does the red dots on its chest serve a purpose? I am not entirely sure what that purpose would be, whether it would be for attracting a mate, or whether both male and female have the red dots, so it might also have to do something with regulating body temperature. but I'm not entirely sure. I know this bird does have very vibrant colors. The yellow saddle on the bill, which is where the bird derives its name from, and then the stark contrast between the black and white and the red and black on the bill as well as the legs. So it is quite a conspicuous bird. Vili, are flamingos a type of stork? I wouldn't say so, but I don't know. I know they're in their own family, and they are very specialized feeders as well, where some storks, like the openbill, are specialized, but they also generally go for whatever they can find. You can see it looks like the bird's moving very carefully, and as soon as it hears something or something's moving around, then suddenly it speeds up and tries to dig at getting something down in the mud. And I'm pretty sure once it puts its head down, it has to strike quickly because it won't be able to see down there. And have a look, the bill's slightly open. Just before it goes down to grab whatever it's trying to grab, it keeps it open, and it's very, very sharp. End is almost like a spear, ready to impale anything larger than a small frog. Now, I don't think there's any fish in this pool at the moment. I have seen some very small fish in some of the other pools nearby. KV, do all storks have the same hunting tactic? I'm also not sure about that. I haven't seen all storks hunt. Generally, from what I've seen, some of the larger storks picking up smaller things off the ground. It's in a very similar fashion, but not all storks eat the same things, and I'm sure it's not entirely the same throughout. And looks like it's got something down there. And I think it's almost like the stork can't believe its luck. It's the only bird taking advantage of it. Glenn, do their colors keep predators away? I wouldn't think so. The colors of warning, or aposematic colors that certain insects or other creatures might have to keep predators away, is usually an indication that they are distasteful or that they might be toxic to eat. Where in this case, with the bird, I highly doubt that's the case. I think it's probably more likely to be an attraction or for means of communication with birds over long distance. I have seen these storks fly up really, really high when they use thermals to get lift on hot days, and you often find them way, way up there circling in between a group of vultures. Now, in that sense, the best way to pick them out is looking at their colors. I'm sure if there are any other storks around, that might be the way they identify their own species. And also at a distance, in the tall grasses along a stretch of river or large body of water. And it's got something, it looks pretty large that it's got there. I can't see exactly what it is. But I wouldn't be surprised what it'll be able to find within these pans at the moment. And it's because it's a different area as well. I'm gonna try a reposition, see if maybe we do get another view or a better view that's not obstructed by the tree. So that's quite interesting. It's actually out of the marshy section, out on dry ground. And you can see now it's catching something more regularly. It looks really small. You can hardly see it before it flicks it. Down into the throat. And I think what it's picking up is probably insects. You can see a lot of insects, dragonflies and things flying around it. And there's definitely still some moisture on the ground. Ooh. I think it's probably picking up things like millipedes or beetles in this case. Would be a good guess. But I really can't see. Julia, he is indeed having a good breakfast this morning. Now, there might also be a lot of grasshoppers within this grass, and that's also something that this bird will be likely to eat. Shaking the feathers, it's probably picked up some moisture or parasites or something else from the tall grasses when it was wading in that pan. Now it's moved into the shady patches. A jetpack, it's really very long legs, and it's amazing to see that the bird's actually standing on the one like it was just now. To catch its prey. Now, of course, the size of it is so small, but the nutritional value of insects are quite high, and therefore, when there's enough, like there is at this point, it fully capitalizes on the situation. it's also amazing that such a large bird have such a good sense of space and orientation that is actually able to accurately pick up something small, like say a grasshopper or a beetle, accurately and quickly. It would be interesting to see what this bird does from here, where it goes, because I'm sure it can stay here for a very long time before it moves on. Jenny, I have seen this bird fly before. In fact, normally they take off quite quickly the moment you get near them. So this is quite unusual, and the only explanation I can have for the relaxedness of the bird is, number one, the distance that we are from the bird. I think we've given it sufficient space to be doing its own thing without being too close and making it move off. But also, a bird this relaxed, or a saddle-billed stork at least this relaxed, must have had some interaction with vehicles or people before. And my guess is that it's probably from somewhere nearby where there's a permanent watering hole, maybe in one of the public camps within the Kruger National Park. Safari Kitty, what is the wingspan of the stork? The wingspan of the stork, I'm going to have a look for you in my book, which at this point I do not see any wingspan numbers in here. I am not too sure what it is. Okay, wow. Okay, so I've just received some information that it's about 2.4 to 2.7 meters, which is massively long. It is a large bird, but that is very, very big. It's just moved out of sight. I'm going to move a little bit back and see if we might get another view of it. It looks like it's moving back towards the water. Okay. What a useful place to be for this stork at this point. And in fact, normally you wouldn't think that they're this active. When you do find them, they'll either be standing somewhere, like in a small puddle out in the open, and looking around nervously before they fly off. Have a look now, it's more careful strides. The feet go in very, very well thought through. As to not spook things completely out of the area. But unfortunately, that magic quarry right there is in a very, very annoying spot at this point. So I'm once again going to move a little bit forward, see if we'll get another view of it. It looks like the stork is moving back towards the water, but there's so much to choose from at this point. Like I don't think it. I don't think even itself really knows where to be looking or where to be hunting. He's going to come out on the other side now, and he's just been moving on this one side of the pan, which is very interesting. I guess it's mainly because this is the more open part, and the clearing extends in the direction that the stalk is moving. And have a look, something drew its attention there, so it's literally, no, it's actually, I wonder if that was it trying to grab some of the flying insects out of the air. Yes, it is. And it looks like it might be some flying termites. So it is definitely some flying termites coming down that I can see at the moment, which means that this bird is now going into the next course of its meal. I think we might have a look at it for a little while longer.
Welcome back to And Beyond Punda. We have two battaliers, two juvenile battaliers that were thermaling right above us a couple seconds ago, but I think they've actually managed to get enough height, and both of them have now started drifting off away from us. Very, very distinct short tails and quite a distinct flight pattern as well. I think we're on a little ridge here, so they might have been slope soaring, and then the sun's actually in the last 5 minutes just come out and started baking. So maybe on the side of the hill which is exposed to the sun, some beautiful thermals forming. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some vultures using it shortly as well. We're really not too far away from where we saw all those whiteback vultures yesterday morning. Beautiful little bank there, and if you get an opportunity to see the tail or lack of it, that's what I used to identify the battalier. We are now sitting with this beautiful view out again. A really good spot to scan from and, and to birdwatch, it would seem. There's some European rollers calling behind us as well. I'm not sure if you can hear them. This battalier is now circling, looking for food. So battaliers are really pretty birds. They are actually the kind of logo for And Beyond. And they hunt, so they'll hunt little rodents, small things like that, but they're also pretty prolific scavengers. So any opportunity to feed on carcasses they'll take, and battaliers and yellow-billed kites are actually one of the first birds often to go down onto a carcass. We'll see them going down, dropping out the sky, and then the vultures will follow. magnificent setting that we've got here now. This Bateleur looks like it might be coming back towards us a little bit. But I don't know that this Bateleur is going to hang around for too long. So we're going to send you across to Lauren, who has got a very special surprise for you.
Such a shame. We had the most perfect visuals of Tingana. We bumped into Tingana at Simbambili Dam. He was standing all magnificent for us, but he has now gone into the drainage and we cannot off-road. We just bumped into him. We're on our way on to another leopard. But I don't think we'll be able to get another view for you, everyone, I'm afraid. Tingana. Unfortunately. Okay, they're going to off-road. Different properties have different policies. If we can off-road for our leopard, hopefully.
Bateleur we were following has just dropped down towards the trees at the bottom there. We didn't see exactly which tree it landed in, unfortunately. I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to slowly move forward. There's another road that heads down quite close to, or a lot closer than we are now, to where that Bateleur landed. And it would be amazing if we could get a nice close shot of it perched or in a tree. Yeah, really, really beautiful raptors. And the juveniles, in terms of color, can actually be really hard to distinguish. When they have their adult plumage, they've got very distinct plumage. And the colors on their body are, if you can see them, really easy to figure out what they are. But unfortunately, when they are in their juvenile plumage, it's just kind of a uniform brown color. And quite hard to see exactly what they are. When they're flying, though, the shape is so characteristic of Bateleurs that if you know what to look for, you can identify them pretty easily. And when you're looking at them when they're perched, especially from a distance, it can be a little bit more difficult, but they do still have a couple distinct features to look out for. If you can see their tail while they're perched, their tail, which is so short, is quite distinct. Bateleur actually translates from French, if I'm not mistaken, to mean tightrope walker, which describes the way that they fly. Let's have a look. I think, no, that's a tree that's fallen over. I'm just scanning all these young fever trees down here. That's kind of the direction where the Bateleur landed, but I don't see anything. So yes, so Bateleur translates to a tightrope walker, and if you imagine a tightrope walker with their arms outstretched, using their arms wobbling to balance, that's what the name refers to. Because they've got such a short tail, they're often almost like a fighter plane or a fighter jet. They have this little wobble from side to side that they keep needing to counterbalance. And that's really because their tail is so short and they don't have that stability that a larger tail offers, which is really, really cool. So they're constantly adjusting, and when you watch them flying around, you'll often see them. It's quite pretty actually, because it's not just a normal uniform straight line of flight. They often have this little wobble, and that especially happens when they start picking up speed. If I was a battalier, where would I land? Miley, the elephants, that's a very good question now. If I knew, we would most likely be looking at some of them. No, I'm just kidding. So there have been a couple bulls that have been in this area. We see 6 or 7 of them here. I don't want to say regularly, but quite often enough to say we see them here on occasion. The herds of elephant on Phinda, I've mentioned a few times now how diverse the landscape is and the vegetation types are here. And the herds spend a lot of time up in the north, and the reason they do that is because there are so many forests and thickets in the north. We've just got a little roller. It's a European roller. It's actually really close to the car. So these are migrant birds. They come and they spend their summers down here. Oh, you're on monkeys. Oh. Well, the roller's just gone as well. So it's the European roller. Can you see the roller there? It's just perched on the edge of the tree. That little thicket. These European rollers migrate from Europe, and they come down to feed on the abundance of flying ants and termites and insects that come out here in the summer. Odie, if you go back to the road, there's the rest of the troop of monkeys is now slowly walking down the road. There's a couple youngsters there. So these are vervet monkeys. If you are familiar with the Durban, or I suppose the greater Durban area, I'm sure you're very familiar with these monkeys. If not, they seem very cute and sweet at this distance, as long as they're not too close to your house. But we can see there's a mother there running with a baby. It's holding on underneath her. And these monkeys are here because of these stands of fever trees that we've got in this area. And there's a troop that lives in them and spends a lot of time here. We don't often see them down on the road like this. I wonder if I roll forward, if they're going to get a fright and run away. But I would really like to get a bit of a nicer view of them for you. There we go. You can see the mother's now going to take the lead, and if you look really carefully underneath her, you can see that little baby hanging on. Very cool little monkeys. And funnily enough, if you have a look in the tree, Odie, that tree, that exact same branch we saw those 2 Wahlberg's eagles sitting on last night that I said would probably spend the night there, we've still got a Wahlberg's eagle there. I think I said around 8 it would probably get going and take flight when it got nice and warm. So just like we assumed it would, this Wahlberg's eagle is still perched up on the branch. So it roosted here for the night. Its partner looks like it may have got going a little bit earlier. It is, like I mentioned a little while ago, really warm here this morning. So the thermals, those battaliers were already up and going. The thermals are working their magic, giving uplift to all the big birds in this area. So whenever this warbird is ready, he or she, I'm not quite sure which one it is, will be able to take to the skies and beginning a day of hunting and foraging for food. If you look at the legs, you can just make out some fine feathers on the legs. There's that very characteristic tiny little crest on the back of the head, the little feathery crown that bataliers have. Excuse me, Wahlberg's eagles. And before these bigger birds get flying, I'm just going to roll a little bit more forward again, Odie. I don't know if you want to pan out quickly. Before these larger birds get going, they'll often defecate, shed a little bit of weight before they take off. I'm hoping we can get nice and close to the sky so that we can get a nice clear view of what he actually looks like. So I haven't started the car, just so that we don't spook him too much. But you can see a black eye, you can see the yellow line from the bill, that's the mouth, actually runs all the way underneath the eye. We call that the gape. And this Wahlberg's eagles have quite a large gape. That helps them to eat larger mouthfuls of food. There are a few eagles that really do have a massive gape. Vultures as well, so they can swallow quite large chunks of meat at a time. And then the characteristic hook bill of the eagles, really, really sharp and designed specifically for tearing flesh. You can see those talons as well, the feet of this Wahlberg's eagle as it sits there. Really needle-sharp claws that are holding onto that branch. Oh, that's a nice view when he looks at us now. He's busy preening, so either having a little scratch or straightening out some of those feathers. You can see there's a little down feather that's just come through there on his neck now where he was pulling. So it's really important for birds. You'll often see them preening. And flying's a very precise activity. Oh, a little scratch. I'd imagine you'd have to scratch quite carefully if you had nails like that. And yeah, flying's a very, very precise activity and requires you've got to make sure all your feathers are really aligned and ready to carry you to the skies. Bridget, I don't know there's a scientific answer for that, to be honest with you. One would maybe have to assume that the eagle that had the highest flying was the eagle with the best vision, although that's not really a fair test. I think martial eagles soar at great heights, but generally speaking, birds of prey and raptors have absolutely unbelievable vision. I'm not quite sure how it works. I think it's kind of a tunnel vision that they use, so they can still see wide, but their ability to focus on tiny little details is almost uncomparable. They reckon vultures can see for many kilometers. So this Wahlberg's eagle is just preening now, straightening out all its feathers. We are going to carry on. We came here to look for some cheetah and potentially some lions. There are pride of lions that hang around here every now and again. But for now, we're going to carry on looking for them, and we'll get back to you when we find something else that's cool.
So, we all know that the rain brings life, but we don't always look at the smaller things necessarily. And we're lucky enough to have a alate immersion. So I think let's have a look at this for a while. It's amazing to see all of these little bodies moving about, and then the size difference between the flying ones and the normal termites.
Here we got the bird, which is very much interesting. Weavers as a whole colony of them, busy making noises, pushing one another, and some they already starting their new nest, and are musk weavers. And been so much going on, as you can see. There's starting of this rebuilding material as a soft green grasses were collected by a male. Sometimes he will build a nest and then complete. And then once the nest complete, the female, she will probably fly in and check if she likes it. If not, then the male has to build another one. That's why it's so much building. Some nests been abandoned, which they fail due to the wife that don't want them. It's amazing technique they do, collecting grasses, single grasses each time. Bring it back to that. And they use a very much beak to able to put these grasses in places and bend them over until it forms an entrance and a space for the eggs to be laid inside. During this breeding season, they have a lot of visitors or brood parasite bird, where most of those cuckoos, Dedrick's cuckoos most, they would sneak into these nests, lay egg and they move out. And the egg still be incubated by these weavers without realizing that it's not theirs. having been taken care of, both parents here feed that baby with their own baby. And this brood parasite thing, it works that way. They don't take care of their own babies, they only lay eggs and they're gone. They don't want to know what happened to the eggs, whether it's hatched, whether the eggs die or what happened. They don't need to know anymore. So JP, you're very right. You're saying it's very much amazing for these birds to actually construct nests like this. Indeed it is. You think of all this work they have done here. And then it takes sometimes 17 days to complete all nests. And then only worst thing is that when the females don't like it, then it's so much work for the male to restart doing another nest, which means so many of these nests that is hanging here, many of them won't be used because they failed. And these grasses they use, type of these buffalo grasses, bushveld buffalo grasses, where single grasses would be collected and start just like that. We see a little bit of a green that is hanging there. This is actually the beginning of starting of the nest. Connect to the twigs, strengthen enough, tied it up, and carry on. We're going to move on here, carry on with our search. I'm going to be sending you across to Lauren with her surprise.
Sadly, no luck with Tingana, everyone, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Nzutini. Oh yes, I think Tristan's had her once before, but she is a new female leopard for us. She is Tiani's daughter and Hukamuri's daughter. Now, of course, Tiani's confirmed. You always know who the mother is, but when it comes to the father, it's actually been confirmed Hukamuri's daughter by Panthera DNA testing. So we were actually always on our way to this sighting. I don't know how long we're going to be able to stay here. It gets very busy in the west and a little bit stressful. But we'll try and stay our longest, and it was on our way to Nzutini that we actually bumped into Tingana. But he went deep into that drainage, and unfortunately, yes, we didn't get him. But here is Miss Nzutini. I've seen her once, actually. I had Tiani and Nzutini together for you, but we didn't have signal. So luckily, she's very close to the open area, and that means we can spend time with her. There was a hyena lurking around, but I've lost visual of the hyena. Hello, beautiful. Her name means the one who likes shade. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, I'm just making sure that everyone else can see. It's rather busy, but Simon and I have all the luck. Don't we, Si? Isn't she beautiful? You look like your mummy and your daddy all mixed in together. It's good genes. Tiani's very distinctive. She has a really unique appearance. Lisa, it's a new leopard for me too, really, for all of us. I mean, I think Tristan did have her once, but she's very much to the west. Oh, look at these upset impala. They know something's going on here. All of these rams, they maybe don't know what, but they know there's trouble. Maybe they can see the hyena. But yes, it's not really a new leopard, if you like to speak, but for us, we have bigger traverse more than ever, and it allows us to see new leopards. And we've tried very hard, but I'm so glad that she's in an area where we get signal. She was born in December 2018, which makes her 2. So she's now sort of left Tiani. Tiani's been seen mating again since, which is normal, but she's not yet territorial. She's not yet established her territory. She'll be working on that, just like Cara. Now, she's often found in the exact same area as Cara. And if you think about it, they're half-sisters. Can you guys see? Yeah? Maybe. I'm just making sure we're not blocking anyone's vision. She's so lovely. Tiani's also a gorgeous leopardess. I mean, they're all beautiful. And the more you spend time with them, you realize that they're not really similar. You can really start to identify just by looking at their face. Just getting mobile. There's a hyena behind us. I don't know where she's going, though. She's not far from Tingana, by the way. James, you're saying Inzutini is a wonderful surprise. That was my surprise for you. I didn't want to tell you who I was going to see because I tried to get in Kanyeni and Cub for you the other day and we didn't have a signal. So I don't like to disappoint people. There's a hyena with something lovely in its mouth. And there is Inzutini. Can you see her, Simon? I don't know this hyena. I don't immediately recognize it. She's watching. Oh, she's moving, she's moving. Look how close these animals are. They're very close. She's not happy with this hyena's presence, but she's not going to challenge it. Hopefully she'll go up this termite mound and sit perfectly. That's a girl. It's such a wonderful surprise. Okay, she's not going to set up the termite mound for us, which is typical. Okay, we're going to follow the other vehicle and see where she goes. Different properties have different owned by different people, and Simbambili are okay with off-roading. It just depends where you are. I think we're going to get nice views of her. But on Juma, there's no off-roading yet. How's that, Simon? She's watching that hyena. I think the hyena's found her kill. I don't actually know where the kill was, but I have a funny feeling this hyena has found it, or at least stolen some of it, and she is not happy. Zutini girl, be careful, you're very small. Yeah, hyena's got her kill. The hyena knows she's here and does not have a single care in the world. There's two. Two hyenas. This is what happens when you don't hoist your kill, I'm afraid. You leave it open to any terrestrial or aerial scavengers, I guess. I wonder if these hyenas are from the Elephant Plains clan. Momo, no, hyenas just look that way when they're full. It's very difficult to tell when a hyena's pregnant. You normally have to look for the mammary glands and sort of different signs. Hyenas just look ginormous when they're full. This is normal. It looks like they swallowed a baby elephant. They gorge themselves, which is normal for most of the predators, really, maybe except those that hunt by coursing. But ooh, can you smell that, Simon? Oof. Struggling a little bit here. Ooh. That's an odour for you all. But yes, no, hyenas just absolutely bulge. They eat as much as they can. It's almost like they don't have that stop sign. You are too full, a bit like myself. You eat too much and you just feel awful. Well, that's hyenas for you. But they never know. Life as a scavenger, although they do hunt, you don't know when your next meal is coming from, and that's the exact same for vultures. They store lots of food in their crop because they don't know when they're going to get their next meal. And hyenas absolutely do hunt, but it takes effort. If you've not fed in a while, you may not have that much energy, and therefore it's going to become more and more difficult to hunt, because to hunt you've got to run, you've got to chase, you've got to take down your prey. Poor Nzutini. She's a very petite little leopardess, so small. I remember when Tlalamba was like this. Now Tlalamba's a territorial female. Hey B, you're saying Nzutini's got the loveliest face, hasn't she? I can see her mother. If you search for Tiani, you'll be able to see photos of Tiani, and of course Hukumuri is one of the best males we have out here. He's got the good genes, that boy. And that's definitely the father, confirmed by scat analysis. There's a lot of leopards out here we still don't know, so we need to get collecting poop. It's not fun, but it must be done. Panthera do a wonderful job at analysing scat to trace the DNA of who is the father. And even if they don't have the father's DNA on record, they can at least eliminate who is not the father, if that makes sense. But there's a lot of leopards we've still got to collect. You've got to sit, watch, wait for them to relieve themselves. Then you've got to wait till they vacate the area. You can't jump out your vehicle while the leopard's there, and then scoop it up in a specialised vial and ship it off. Look at the ears. The ears are flat. She's not happy. LT, she's not really following them so much. What's happened is I think they have found her kill. I knew she had a kill, but I didn't actually know where it was. I assumed it was hoisted. And she's waiting to get back to her kill. She's waiting for them to leave So there's no danger to go back and see if there's anything left. She's not really following them, essentially. She's keeping an eye on her kill. Let's go forward a bit, Simon, just so we get a better view. And this little pan here is called Pommy's pan. The hyena's there. She's very close. Pommy's pan on the open area at Simbambili, which is to the west of Djuma, for anyone that's maybe slightly unsure. She's very, very close, and the hyena wouldn't immediately attack her, but she's got to be careful. One bite or accidental bite from a hyena's jaws could be fatal for her, in terms of even if it just snaps her leg, she'd never be able to hunt again. But it's normal for leopards and hyenas to be this close. She just wants her kill. But she's not really following them. She just wants her food. She wants them to leave. Critter freak, I agree. Poor Nzatini. She made the kill. She put in the effort. I don't actually know what it was. I can't comment on what species the kill was, and of course she's lost it. But this is how they learn. Leopards can hoist. Look at those shoulder blades. They hoist their food. That's how they survive and thrive. So mistake after mistake will only cause her to learn. I think she may be leaving. I think she may be thinking, nope, this is not worth it anymore. Okay, I just think I'm going to go forward, Simon, just to make sure we don't lose her. When the grass is this long in a big open area, it would be very, very easy to lose. She's just here. You see behind that thicket. She's sulking, I think. She's coming back again. She wants to know what's left. She wants this hyena to disappear. There's something about her eyes. She's just stunning. Looks like she's got really dark, sleek, elegant eyeliner on. She's not quite sure where to go. She knows that hyena is somewhere. Really, no. I mean, possibly a calf that was injured or weak or abandoned. Possibly, yes. I mean, they're opportunistic. They will try. But a buffalo, an adult buffalo for a leopard, is far too large. They're very petite animals, and sometimes I wish I could just show you a leopard and a lion next to one another. I mean, that's not going to happen. But the lionesses that we had last night in the Talamati Pride are huge. When a lioness stands up next to your car, it's just, your heart stops. Oh, the hyena's coming back. Look. You see that, Simon? She has to be careful here. But leopards are so small. Really, they're short, they're slim, they're petite, very light on their feet. they wouldn't be able to take down an adult buffalo alone. I mean, lions do it cooperatively, generally speaking. But if there was a calf that was maybe injured with a broken leg and it was easy to get that calf on its side, then of course. But an adult, no. And there's a huge difference between male and female leopards. There's lots of photos online of Shadulu right now with tortoise pan male, and it just shows you the difference in size. Shadulu looks minuscule. He looks ginormous and he's not, but it's just a size difference between the sexes. It's really quite remarkable. But you just don't see it because they're not always together. Leopards can't be weighed down by too much muscle. Yes, they're powerful, of course they are. They've got muscle, but the more muscle you have, the more you're going to be weighed down by that. You're going to become a much heavier animal like a lion. You're going to need to have adaptations to your skeleton and additional muscle attachment sites. And it will make you less light on your feet. Is she going to cross the water? She's right next to the vehicle. Excuse the random shoe that's in the shots. She looks rather deflated, doesn't she? I mean, that's massively anthropomorphizing, but deflated indeed. This is Simbambili open and Pommy pan, isn't it stunning? This pan dries up in winter. I've lost visual of her for now. She's moved off. I wonder, let's try and go forward, Simon. She's there. Are you able to get her? She's right in that thicket. I'm not sure if we can get a view from the way I've parked. Have I parked horribly? Let's try. She's just in here? Nope, nope, nope. There we go. It's getting really hot. I'm becoming very uncomfortable. Actually, I was uncomfortable at the Hyena Den, to be honest with you. So she's needing to seek shade. Can you hear the hyena drinking? Well, that was rather noisy. Now it's walking through the den. She's eyeballing this hyena. And that's what she's doing. She's waiting till this hyena disappears. She wants to go back and check. She wants confirmation. Is her kill really gone? Is it really gone? Did they really take it? Is there any scraps left for her? And sadly, I don't think there's going to be, but that's what she's waiting for. And look at this hyena in here. It's hilarious. Just been paddling. We went for a little paddle. And now we are contemplating what to do next. But we have also seen leopards scavenge from hyenas. They all scavenge from one another. I assure you, although hyenas have a terrible reputation for it. We actually watched, it was Jamie's sighting, Jamie and Craig, I'll never forget this, on quarantine. Pretty, Swazi and Indabelli's mother, was running along quarantine with a huge piece of something in her mouth. I do not know what it was or what animal it came from, and Hosanna was waiting. He hid behind a tree. Some of you will remember this. And he launched out and attacked Pretty, got the food, and took it up a tree. And Pretty lost her meal. I think she had scavenged it anyway. But they will all steal from one another. Okay, hopefully Nzutini will come back out and we'll get better views, but for now, across to Taylor and her Ellies.
Good morning from Pridelands. I'm just going to stop here momentarily, but we are going to have to maneuver around because that big elephant over there is all weenie. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Gert, and like I said, we're here at Pridelands Conservancy, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly, I'm going to just try and stay on this road because it loops back, and then we'll be able to get another view of him. He's such a cool elephant, and we don't always get to see him. This is the second time he's been live now. We had him a few months ago. I'm going to cut through here. You can hopefully watch him for a bit. So epic to see a great tusker like this elephant. He is so majestic, and he's on his way towards the eco training camp if he carries on in this direction, which could be a lot of fun for all of the students. Hey, imagine having breakfast and enjoying this fella's company. But he is also in full must. So if you joined us on the Sunset Safari yesterday, I was talking quite extensively about a must. But he is a very relaxed, calm elephant. You can see there's a cow and her sub-adult with her too. They're very curious about him. They're almost all in awe of this elephant bull, and they don't stop following him.
Mobile again after.
How awesome is this? All the zebra, the wildebeest, giving this big elephant right of way. Now, there's not too many cows here. It just seems to be that one cow and calf that have separated from their herd, and the rest of these elephants are all bulls. But look at him. He is a giant. Off he goes. He's just about to cross the main road. We will have to try and jump around and get in front of him again. But I know that our signal is not so great once we cross that road, just for about 100 meters or 200 meters or so you might lose us. But I do hope that he goes down towards Ndlovu Dam. That'll be very, very cool for everybody in camp, even all of the other eco-training employees that maybe don't get to leave camp so often. Okay, we're gonna risk it then and try and keep up with him, unfortunately. So sorry if you do lose us. We're gonna try, but I don't want to lose sight of this elephant because, like I said, we don't get to see him very often. He's so cool. He's so big, but he's such a gentle giant as well, which is really, really nice. Okay. There he is. He's basically heading down the access road now. A couple of the elephants are stopping to feed. Okay, they look like they're going to take an animal pathway. So if we go here, we should be able to catch up with them again. He's just here. The nice thing about Ezulwini is that he is so enormous. He doesn't really let much get to him, and even when he is in full mass, which normally the elephant bulls aren't as tolerant as what they are when they're out of it, he doesn't seem to mind us at all. We're just giving him quite a bit of room, though. Obviously, animals have right of way, so we're not going to stick right behind his heels, although we shouldn't be doing that with any of the animals anyways. But he is very, very calm. If it was another bull, we had Dex in mass not too long ago, who's one of the collared bulls by Elephants Alive, and he was not very tolerant at all, even from about 100 meters away. He was unhappy with us. Off he goes. Oh, we've got elephants all around us now. There's a couple of the younger bulls creeping up from behind, so I'm just going to have to pick up the pace. Hello, boy. Are you also crossing the road? One of the youngsters. I'm also going to have to jump on the radio, I'm afraid, to let Mike know, because Mike's out with students at the moment. Mike for Taylor.
Standing by.
Mike, Ezulwini is making his way towards Ndlovu Dam. I'm just following on Ndlovu South, if you and Sean would like to join. Hello, boy. Hello. Okay, there we go. Let Mike know. You can also, like I said, very, very special to have elephants like of all eyes join. Anyways, I'm going to jump onto the radio again, so I'm going to make sure everybody gets a view of him.
Has it just pretended to be dead? Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I it's like that is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique Wild Earth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with Wild Earth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all Wild Earth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back to a little watering hole that we've got here at Punda. We came past to see if there was any bigger game hanging around, seeing as it's now really starting to heat up. And as we pulled in, there were a whole lot of woolly-necked storks coming into land. There's a little hammerkop in the foreground as well, right next to the waterhole, that's been hunting grasshoppers while we've been sitting here. The grasshoppers have been putting up a bit of a fight though, so I don't think he's caught any since we've arrived. And I was gonna go past and just keep on going, and then we saw a whiteback vulture that looked like it was coming into land, and I got really excited. So we came and parked off in what I thought would be the perfect position to watch a vulture coming down. You often find that if one vulture comes down, that it'll pull a whole lot of other vultures out the sky as well. And I just got so excited at the thought of that. But alas, I think our kind of vehicle where it is parked now is maybe a little bit too spooky for the vultures to come down. But these white woolly-necked storks, have continued coming down. You can see they're all walking around. There's a couple of them that are hunting in the grass there, looking for little insects and things. And there's also a few that are preening, so also straightening out feathers, making sure everything's nice and aligned. As it gets hot now as well, it's a good time if there was any kind of dew or any dampness in the feathers from a cool evening. A good time to get those all open and dried out as well. So these woolly-necked storks are kind of going around about that. And as far as I can see, the hammerkop's just parking off. Got that distinctive hammer-shaped head, which is how it got its name. And those woolly-necked storks have really got their white neck feathers all fluffed up. Oh, the one on the left's now sunning itself. You can see a beautiful pink stripe on the near wing. Watching birds sun themselves is a really, really cool thing. So definitely using this opportunity of the bright direct sunlight now to warm up and dry out. We often see cormorants like this standing after they've been in the water. I see them sitting on the banks of rivers or the beach or rocks around the shore with their wings open like that. And they are also trying to dry their feathers out. They obviously get a lot more wet than woolly-necked storks do since they hunt for food in the water. But if it does get a little bit chilly and condensation does occur overnight, these storks will get wet. Stork very much looks like it's got a set of solar panels out now. The iridescence in the feathers is actually quite reflective. I think the woolly-necked stork on the far right is looking like he might start doing the same thing. He's not quite full spread like the one on the far left. But very cool. We don't often get to see that pink stripe on top of the wings. Kind of along the line where I imagine the bone would run in the wing. Lots of beautiful calls here. There's a little red-breasted swallow flying around and calling, I can hear. We had a little flappet lark flying over us earlier, which is really cool. Quite close to the ground as well. There goes some sunbirds. Obviously the Egyptian geese on the left of the watering hole, one of the more common birds we get in South Africa. Just a really, really beautiful place to sit and spend the morning. That hammerkop's now also having a scratch. Oh, and it might actually go down and have a drink there now. That hammerkop's really just making himself comfortable on the side of the watering hole there. We often find them hunting small little fish and frogs and things like that. And this is a small watering hole, but after all this rain, I'm sure there are some frogs around and about. There's another slightly larger pool to the right, and all just really, really happening ecosystems. So I'm sure there'll be little frogs at least in these watering holes for that hamakop to hunt. So that's the other watering hole on the right. A couple evenings ago we had a beautiful sighting here from exactly this position of a whole lot of zebra approaching from the left-hand side and coming down to drink. You can see this water level is actually quite close to eye level, just actually raised above the road, which means we get really beautiful reflections of animals when they come down to drink. It also doesn't have a very big surface area, so it doesn't have too much opportunity to pick up wind chop and things like that to kind of blur your images or distort your vision. On the far side of the bank there, I can just see two little birds. I saw a pin-tailed wider. It's just landed on the right. It's got a beautiful red bill, tiny little bird, and it's got tail feathers that are about 4 or 5 times as long as the bird. So these little watering holes in the more dry grassland areas where we are now are extremely productive. Up until our big rain about a week ago, you could come here any time of day and there'd be an assortment of birds. If you sat here for half an hour, it was in the morning or evening almost guaranteed for some white rhino to come down and have a drink. Maybe some wildebeest and some zebra like I mentioned earlier. And I'm sure if you stayed here after dark later into the evening, the black rhino would come down and all those elephant bulls that I was talking about would come and drink here as well. To give you a little bit of more on the elephant story, we're going to cross over to Andrew at Ngala.
Thanks, Devin. Now we've got a young bull elephant moving along the road after he spent a little bit of a time here feeding. So he's probably going to be sticking on the road for us, just probably more in front there. They're more of a herd. Maybe the member, they're young bull. They're more likely to be maybe follow behind far distances. Probably getting to a stage where when I look at him, he's already either isolated from the whole group. And as you can see, the road has been blocked over here, so there's been a lot of elephants. Probably come back for that, move it. We saw the weaver earlier, where they were kind of like sociable. A bird moving around together, making noises. Where elephants is about the same. They do form, especially breeding herd, where there is a whole group of 30 in group, 20 member in group sometimes. Where sometimes male tend to separate away from the whole group, take their own journey around. Sure, he doesn't actually cooperating. He's actually moving into very thick stuff. I'm going to continue along the road, so hopefully we find anything more of probably elephants along the road. It looks like to me there was more than one elephant here. sense of smell to able to find Sebastian, so you're asking how fast the elephant move, maybe meaning running or just moving. So 12 kilometers per hour when they're normal moving fast, but when they're running up to 40 kilometers an hour. And this is how faster they can run, but also moving fast, you know, anything from 10 to 12 p per hour, and that's ph per hour. That's actually fast movement there. And they're actually quite big animals. For them to do slow motion movement, this is when they feel like they can actually pick it faster enough. So, but wherever they are, the other members, could be the whole herd where, yeah, it's a lot of tracks, but up and down. And they're attracted by the green grasses. There's actually a big drainage line that parallel with us as we move down this way. And then he's heading in that area. So you found the whole herd in the middle of the block. Seeing a little bit of more of a fresh defecation here of this elephant, just to tell how fresh they are. I'm gonna try get a closer look to this poop or the defecation. Look for these animals, then you know how far they've moved into an area. This is what happened here. This defecation, all you see a lot of little flies, but it's probably early this morning or maybe half an hour ago. So it's still neat, kind of fresh a little bit. It's not steaming though. If it was probably early morning, it does actually probably steaming. That you know there's probably elephants around here. But we've seen that young male moving that way, so it's probably that's more of them in the bush. So now the sun is up. Well, a lot of beetles, dung beetle, will come about and they'll probably fly around. It's amazing sense they use to able to fly right directly to the dung, defecation, and they start to feed in that. But not only just feed, they just come and, combine the poop to roll balls, and they were able to roll the ball away from here. But this is how they're actually able to reproduce, where lies eggs within the balls, but they have to bury the ball then, lie single egg inside. So I'm going going to check down to that drainage line. Hopefully we'll find the whole herd.
Lorna, what do you love about dung beetle? Lorna?
Lorna, so you're asking, what do I love about the dung beetle? So in an ecosystem itself, it's so important. Wherever there is a livestock, there is anything that living in the free lands, wild animals, they are so important, dung beetles, because they're the consumer of whatever left. And then in that case also, how they get rid of mainly of other insects. Now it's a lot of flies because the dung beetle hasn't been involved to consume the whole thing. That's why you see a lot of small flies arrived into that scene. If then the dung beetle arrive now, probably 20, 15 of them to completely done this whole process of rolling down, then there will be nothing there. Then it means that there won't be a lot of flies. So they're actually good in the ecosystem on their own world. They do so much important. And they play an important role in making sure everything go back to the normal ecosystems. So, yeah, I'm actually continuing down there just to see if there is more of this herd of elephants. Like I said, it's probably more of them there, if we ever find them.
We have left those woolly stalks. There's now another woolly stalk here and a whole lot of zebra. So as it heats up, all the insects start getting really, really active, in particular the flies. If you have a look, all those zebra's tails are quite furiously swishing from left to right. And that really helps them get rid of the flies, especially keeping them away from their backside. And really cool, we'll often see zebras standing head to tail with one another as well. And then the animal that you're standing to tail with, their tail helps keep the flies out of your face as well. But I don't see any of that happening just here, just now. Now, keep quiet for a little bit and we can have a listen. You can hear all the insects chirping. There's a few birds, lots of rollers around here. You can hear monkeys calling in the background. What a beautiful view. We've heard reports of some cheetah up ahead, so we're going to follow up on them and we'll see you soon.
We have the most relaxed rock monitor ever, actually posing on top of this termite mound for us. Now, just to give you an update, the hyenas chased her. It was 2 hyenas, I think, from the Elephant Plains clans chased her. And she ran. A little bit of vocalization. There was a saw from her and a hee from the hyena. Simon's laughing at my vocalizations, something like that. But she got away, she's fine. There wasn't any physical contact. The hyenas are now bathing. They've got their bottoms in the water. And she is gone west. So there's other vehicles that want to see her, and as the further west we go, the less we'll be able to get signal. But I think that was such a wonderful, incredible sighting, and I have been after seeing Nzutini for a long time, or to be able to show you guys Nzutini. It's a very, very lucky sighting. This monitor wasn't too impressed, though. He's sunbathing. But it will get to a point where it becomes too hot. And when it comes too hot, this monitor will seek shade. It's already getting uncomfortable for me, but of course, reptiles do require a lot more heat to power them. And I once got asked about the Komodo Dragon, so I did research for you all, and the Komodo Dragon is also part of the Varanus genus. It's also a monitor lizard. We call it Komodo Dragon, but you can call it the Komodo monitor lizard or the Komodo island lizard. But generally speaking, it's a monitor. It's part of the same family. And in terms of evolution, the genus, I don't know why I can't talk this morning, I think it's the sun. The genus Varanus actually started in Asia. And that's a very long time ago, probably around 40 million years ago. And they migrated to Australia, where they then evolved into much larger forms, larger species. And this was most likely due to the absence of carnivores. Any sort of placental carnivores in Australia was not there to control the populations. So the Varanids, as we'll call them, got larger and larger and started to specialise. And then about 15 million years ago, the collision between continental masses, that is Australia and Southeast Asia, allowed the sort of larger Varanids that had evolved in Australia to move back to what is now sort of the Indonesian archipelago. And that's how we ended up with the Komodo, and that's why it is so large. But the Komodo is classified as a monitor lizard. It's part of the Varanids, the same as this guy here. The rock monitor Latin name is Varanus albigularis. I'm reading that, yes, because I don't know that off by heart, but I do know that it belongs to the Varanids. Albigularis, I think. And it's not the longest monitor lizard, that's the water, but it's bulkier. Blair, all I can tell you is very strong. I'm not sure if you're asking for a measurement, which I definitely don't know, but they have incredibly powerful tails. Really powerful. And they can use them as weapons of defense. Not only that, they can use them as a sort of propeller to get through the water. So although rock monitors definitely don't spend time in the water as do water monitors, they can jump into the water if they need to escape predators, and they will use that sort of tail to power them through. They're not swimmers. If you look at his claws, I think you can get a really nice view of his claws there. They can't swim using their claws and small arms. It's the tail that they move rapidly from side to side, and it propels them through the water, and it acts as a defense. If you're a predator and you get whipped in the face by a monitor's tail, it's going to hurt. It's going to really hurt. And actually, I was driving back from the Talamatis and last night, and I accidentally hit a branch, and the entire branch came back and landed in my face. One of the reasons you did not see us last night, we disappeared, and it was very, very painful, and it stops you in your tracks. That's exactly what it would do to a predator if this rock monitor slapped you in the face with its tail. It's going to stop the predator right in its track, which allows the monitor lizard to escape. And going back to the sort of Komodo, when you classify animals, it's taxonomy. And it was originally a scientist called Carl Linnaeus. He was a great Swedish biologist, and he is the one who classified all the species. And he placed everything into groups. And believe it or not, long ago he actually placed insects into a completely separate group because he didn't believe they had any brains. He didn't think they had any sort of central nervous system. But Linnaeus, I think that's how you pronounce it, is Swedish. He's the one that classified animals. And I've just been asked, I didn't catch the name, if monitor lizards, this rock monitor is related to crocodiles. Well, they are all reptiles, so they're all in the order Reptilia. So they'll have lots of similar features, but they're not in the same genus or the same class. Crocodiles belong to Crocodilia, believe it or not. But they are sort of closely related in terms of evolution. If you look at that tree, they all stem from the reptile order. They will have similarities in terms of their biology, their anatomy, their physiology, but they're definitely not in the same genus. Remarkably still. We don't know much reptiles. But when you look at classifying animals, you go from kingdom, which is Animalia. That's where you start. You're not looking at a plant, you're looking at an animal. Then you go into the phylum. There's different phylums. And, of course, any species... Any species with a backbone comes into chordata. It's a chordate. It has a spinal cord. And then the class is Reptilia. So both crocodiles and monitor lizards belong to the Reptilia class. Then you go into orders. Then you go to family. Then you go to genus. Then you can sometimes have a subgenus, and then you get the species. You can sometimes get a subspecies. So that's the sort of order when you're looking at an organism. If you really have no idea what you're looking at, you've got to sort of break it down. And that's how you'll be able to tell how closely related animals are. So, for example, cheetah and a leopard, very similar. They're both carnivores. They're both in the order Carnivora. They're both felids. They're both cats. But your leopard belongs to the Panthera genus, so it's very, very similar to lions, whereas cheetah, they have a genus of their own. So they're both related in terms of they're both felids, but they're also not that closely related because they're in their own genus. Cheetah belong to Acinonyx. They have their own genus. And that's how you sort of scientifically classify animals in taxonomy. Oh, we're starting to move. We are alive. Glenn, I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. When it comes, it's actually very similar to crocodiles, monitor lizards. When the female is ready to lay her eggs, she'll sort of dig a hole in the soft soil, the moist soil, and she'll lay her eggs, which are quite soft-shelled. You can get hard-shelled eggs and soft-shelled eggs. And they lay normally around 30 eggs at a time, give or take on the species, and they'll, of course, hatch underground. I don't believe the males eat their own species' eggs, like Komodo, but I do know they eat lots of other eggs. They will eat other reptile eggs. They'll eat crocodile eggs. Monitor lizards are very famous for eating crocodile eggs, bird eggs, as well as small mammals. So they're notorious for eating eggs, but I don't believe they eat their own species' eggs, if that makes sense. There's no paternal investment. But I could be wrong. I'll check that for you. Now, I think we've lost visual, and Simon and I are baking in this hot sun. So we are... Oh. Hello. You see that bulbous, chunky snout? It's very different from the water monitor. It's very bulbous, very square. The water monitor has a very petite, pointy little snout. Okay, bye, monitor lizard. You have a fantastic day. Posing up on that termite mound. Oh, It's going to be a very hot day. We're just going to go past Simbambili Dam. That's where we left Tingana. And maybe we'll get visuals of him. Maybe he'll pop out. But he went deep into a drainage line, and I'm not going to follow, especially not after the rain that we have had. The ground is still wet. Although they're off-roading here, we don't want to get stuck, do we, Simon? That means we miss breakfast. And then it also means that someone has to rescue us. Not ideal. But we just found him at the dam here, so he could still be around. If not, we'll bumble on back to Djuma. You see a big bird in that tree there. Let's get closer. That breeze is nice. There's not actually a breeze, it's just because we're driving, but it's nice. Do you see that bird up there, Simon? I don't actually know what it is. Let's get my binos out. I still can't actually tell what it is from here. Doesn't look like a raptor once you get close. Look at those naked legs. Should we try and get a little bit closer? I don't think I'll be able to identify it from here. Let's see if we can go closer without it flying away. It could just be an Egyptian goose. I'm not sure. I can't see. I think it might be. Yes. All that excitement for an Egyptian goose. Are you over the moon, Simon? It is. An Egyptian goose with those elaborate facial markings. They're very common, but they are fabulous. Tingana just went in down here. Could be anywhere by now. But isn't it fascinating that he's on Simbambili? I mean, very nomadic behaviour. Very. I've not heard anyone report him sawing. I don't see him acting territorially, but I don't see him enough anymore. And when I do, he's very often sleeping. But we'll come back, we'll go the way we came across the fire break and see if he's mobile. You never know. Okay, so we're going to bumble east along the fire break, see what we can find before we head back into Djuma.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed. Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favourite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a Wild Earth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
We've seen these ellies really chase wild dogs before. Let's get into the spot. There we go, there it comes. Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
So, right in there, in that dark shady patch, in the middle of that very, very dense bush on the bank of the Timbavati, that's where yesterday we saw a lioness. And all the elephants were moving right around the spot. She was hiding her little net. Tiny little lion. I have not yet had a view of myself. And we were hoping we might get to see something with some luck. There was a male lion that made his way in this area earlier on. And then he got lost. I'm moving off the roads to dense areas where the other vehicles wasn't able to follow him. He moved towards this area and probably towards where the den site is. Now I've seen some tracks in the riverbed. It looks like she went up and down a couple of times, and I suspect that she has moved the little ones to a different bank of the riverbed. So at this point, there's no use in trying to get any further view of these little animals, because I think it is, number one, too hot at the moment, and these lions would have definitely gone to go lay in the shade of a very, very dense bush, like these ones here on the Timbavati's banks. So we are going to continue along the riverbed, see if we pick up on anything else. With the lion cubs the age that they are, they must be only a couple of weeks, maybe at most 3 weeks old. It means that they could hardly walk, and their eyes wasn't even open the last time we saw them. And when the cubs are that small, we strictly stick to the road or to the track that we use in the riverbed. We don't off-road for them, we don't bother going to go look for them specifically. If we're lucky enough to get a view from the road or the track in the riverbed, then we can view them. But that's why we're not going to spend a lot of time there, and I think we'll continue along. Now, I heard earlier there was a elephant bull somewhere in this area as well, and I'm hoping that we might get a view of that. I haven't really seen any signs of him. But this particular part of the riverbed is the most accessible for the elephants to come and feed. There's a lot of dense areas with good food. The banks are quite gradual, which means it's easier for them to move up and down. And then there's also a lot of water on these banks. You can see some marula trees up on the bank. And a lot of buffalo thorn thickets and jackalberries. Some of the jackalberries have fruit at the moment, which attracts a lot of monkeys, baboons, but also a lot of other animals, including the elephant. And then, of course, there's also shade. When it's too hot, the animals need shade as well, especially an elephant. Got a very thick but very sensitive skin. Carefully to see if we might get any view, but we are gonna continue and hopefully get to see something along this riverbed. We'll send you over to Kevin with his cats.
Duck down there, we are with the 2 male cheetah that are dominant in the south of the reserve, and they are on the hunt. We're in quite a thick area here, and there are a lot of big fallen over trees in front of us, so it's really hard to keep up with them. We'll give them a minute to hopefully pop out the back there, but they seem to have gone around a bush. There is a road on the other side, not too far away, but it is a little bit of a loop around to get there. I do think it might be our best bet though. So they're looking really, really skinny at the moment. Let me just try reverse and see if I can get us another view around the bush. But here we go. So they're coming up the other side of this little dry river at the moment now. You can see there's one. They're walking really slowly, really cautiously, and are definitely looking for an opportunity to hunt. They're really skinny at the moment, so they'll be looking for any sort of small animals, any of the small impala, wildebeest, zebra. Oh, they actually look like they've turned around and might be coming back in this direction. So they might have heard something up ahead and decided that it's not really either worth it or it's too big for them. I know there was an elephant bull in this area earlier. They could have heard some branches breaking in the distance and decided to go check out if it was worthwhile or what was happening up there. Odie, have you still got a visual there? Alrighto, I'm gonna just turn around here and put us in. There's a couple more gaps that I can hopefully try put us into here. So these are 2 brothers, and they, like I said, are the dominant part of the... not having any luck over here. Our best option, I think, is going to be to go around. Let me just try one more side here. More side. More side. Let's put him.
Sorry about that. Don't know what happened to Pinda, but I'm sure they'll be back. I'm actually driving unnecessarily fast. I'm going to slow down. We're back on Juma. No sign of Tingana. I think he's gone to sleep deep in that drainage, as any cat would. But I'm driving fast to get the breeze. Whew. It's been a hot morning. Wonderful morning all the same. That's another leopard ticked off my list in Zutini. Beautiful name. The one who likes shade. There's 2 other leopards I have on my list to try and find for you. I almost had one the other day, but I will keep working on it. I've got 1 week before Tristan and Steve comes back, and I will keep working on all these other leopards that we can show you. Now that our traverse has expanded, it leaves lots of exciting opportunities. Leopards' territories are smaller than lions, so generally speaking, it's still the same lions, give or take, that we see, except the Torchwood Pride. But there's different leopards. I'm trying to see if we can just pick up on these elephants that we actually saw earlier here. That would be a lovely way to end the drive. I've actually not been on a northern channel, so I don't know if there's any other leopard updates, and I didn't even get round my birding. We'll maybe save that for this afternoon. There's two really interesting activities going on with birds on Bubbelshoek, so maybe that can be our plan for this afternoon. Although looking ahead, Simon, look at these clouds. Maybe it won't turn, maybe it'll break today. The heat might actually break. Mel, are you still there? I'm not sure if we're still that. Yes, you are. I had a question, didn't get that name. What leopard, smell the elephants, what leopard have I enjoyed watching the most? To be honest, did you get the name? Sorry. To be honest, I enjoy watching them all. Really, there's not one leopard that I don't enjoy spending time with. Arnold. They are... When I first came here, I decided I'm not going to fall in love with these leopards that everyone's in love with. I keep hearing about Hosanna. I'm not going to fall in love with Hosanna. That didn't last very long. They are just incredible animals, as are all animals across the board. Anything that survives out here is just incredible. But with leopards, spending time with them, watching them, understanding them, getting to know their lineage, getting to know where they come from, their behavior, their physical traits, you just can't help but fall in love with them all. And I think, maybe the most intimate relationship, if that makes sense, that I had with a leopard was probably Hosanna, who has now dispersed, unfortunately. But he gave us some precious, precious moments, and he was one of the most relaxed animals I've ever came across. So Hosanna, I definitely had a very intimate sort of feelings for, but I enjoy watching them all. But there's definitely one on my bucket list that I have been trying tirelessly to get you guys for the past 2 weeks. And it's not quite going to plan, but I still have time. And I will. I'm a very stubborn individual. I'm a Libra. So I will absolutely make sure I get this leopard for you before I go. I can see all the evidence of the elephants. Everything's pushed over. This poor cluster leaf. Fresh dung, fresh tracks, fresh urine puddles. But I don't see the elephants. Okay, so we're going to head to quarantine, see what else we can find for you before breakfast. And we're going to send you over to another location.
Great, so we now sit around hoping to find a herd of elephants, which then they have moved away from either side of the road, or they're probably in the drainage line Oh, there is a bull right in front of us. There's a massive bull in front of us. That's a different male compared to the one we just saw moving away from us. It's one of these males they always prefer to be by themselves. He's just approaching the quarantine now. It's quite cool here. So many of our marula trees that are about to ripe, and you probably smell those quite a lot. So he's going to visit each one of the marula tree that is available. And he has a chance for that because he's not disturbed in here. It's only by himself. He's now just static there in his shade. Scratching looks like it. So he's probably going to move forward to these trees around here. And we are still looking for any other signs, any herds of elephants along the riverbed here, but this far, unfortunately, no luck. However, we have had some very, very beautiful views. It is amazing what a lot of rain over a short period can do to this area. And even though we don't see a lot of large mammals or general game at the moment, there's certainly a lot of life. And especially this riverine forest along the river banks. It's actually amazing to think that only a couple of months ago this was all barren and most of these trees didn't have their leaves. The reeds weren't nearly as numerous. And on occasions you might find a old buffalo bull somewhere off on his own. The only thing I've seen now is there were tracks, old tracks of the Pride of Lions in this area that's come in, but it looks like the tracks were from yesterday, so I'm sure it's the same tracks that they called in yesterday in this area. And we haven't heard any more calls from the lions from this morning that we started out looking for. But you can see it's getting really, really hot at the moment. Most animals by now will be moving into the shade. The larger animals that need to cool themselves down with mud, like elephant, buffalo, rhino, they'll more than likely move to the shadier parts. And the cats will definitely settle down. Even though we didn't have any lions here this morning, we did have a brilliant morning. Thank you so much for our viewers for joining us. And be sure to join us on the afternoon drive.